Hello and welcome to today's show. It's going to be a good one if you are contemplating about AAA or Al-Anon. I have so much to say. Well, first of all, I first heard about Al-Anon years ago, and then actually had a client who I referred to Al-Anon, but had never explored it myself. And I honestly just thought I didn't need it. I thought it was for other people. And, potentially it could be if you haven't been affected by somebody's drinking, then it might not be for you. But if you're listening to this episode and your life has been affected by someone's drinking, then Al Anon, which is a support group that runs pretty much off of the same 12 steps and principles that AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, does, but with, again, an emphasis on the family and friends of alcoholics. Um, if any of that is relevant to you, then this episode is for you, and potentially AA and Al Anon are for you as well. I will start the episode as increasingly, I feel like I have to make this disclaimer with the topics we're discussing, but this is not medical advice or therapy. If you or someone you love needs support, please reach out to the correct professional. This is simply educational and really just sharing about my life, with hopefully some tidbits for you. So, again, I really would have never gone down this rabbit hole. I think principally because most of the time alcoholics themselves are not admitting they're alcoholics, and that's why really the first step in AA is to say, hi, I'm Bill and I'm an alcoholic. It's really this phrase that you're asked to repeat because um you know, it's there's a huge factor of denial, and now I wouldn't it's interesting, right? Because there's a bit of self-diagnosis at play, but really what unless you've really hit rock bottom and some external situation is pretty much diagnosing you as an alcoholic, whether that's a medical professional, or you have an incident at work or something like that. Um, my perspective, or well, let's see. So, how I want to go about this today, it is about me and my story and what my experience with Al-Anon and um this community has been, but I also just really want to be useful. When I think of the other kind of intro to episodes that I've done, first of all, they've been very well received, which I want to do more of that for you if that is what is interesting to listen to. Because while this is an outlet for me and I absolutely love it, it's also obviously for you, and we're in a dialogue here, even though it's me kind of talking at you in a sense, it's definitely still us here in dialogue. So I hope to make this relevant and not so much just a personal diary, although I think it's sometimes one and the same. But I'd like to just share a little bit about what I wish I knew before going to an Al Anon meeting, and really just maybe a little bit about what prompted this. So I went to an AA meeting to support a friend, and initially I just thought, "Oh, this is totally for, my friend. I'm going as support, and what a good person I am, right?" And I realized that, hey, actually, um, first of all, it takes immense courage to show up to AA as somebody that is struggling. And so if you do know someone that's struggling and you can be a support for them and be in the room with them, I think it's a huge act of love, because it's intimidating to go into a room of, full of people that you don't know and essentially admit that you're powerless to a disease and do that by yourself. And, while AA and Al Anon are both very committed to anonymity, if you're in person especially, you're not really anonymous in the sense that, you know, people see you and they're not supposed to say anything outside of the room, and there's comfort in that, but people are seeing your face, you are physically in a place, and so, you know, it's not 100% anonymous. So, um, you know, if you're secretly considering walking into a room, whether it is for AA or Al-Anon, I think it can be intimidating, and that's why people don't go. And like I said, I don't think I ever would have um explored Al-Anon or really the whole community if it wasn't for my friend. So I'm so grateful for my friend exposing me to this. And then, as I said, I thought I was doing I thought I was doing my friend a favor, but really, this has just opened up my eyes so much in going down the rabbit hole of Al-Anon and seeing what an influence, um, you know, the alcoholic in my life had on me. And you know, as I said, there's so much secrecy and denial, and you know, it's not for me to talk about someone else's problem. It's for me to talk about how the things around me, the people, the places, the things around me have shaped me, and then ultimately understand that I need to focus on what's in my control, which a beautiful thing about Al-Anon and AA is you're really focusing on what's in your control. And that's the basis for the coaching training I've done. And so I think it's just such a beautiful philosophy that these 12 steps have been built upon. And at least for me, it completely resonates with my professional training. Now, there is no, everybody in AA is just a person, and everybody in Al-Anon, there's no kind of professional opinions. You're not going in and feeling like someone's being a therapist toward you or anything like that. And then I think another big thing is, you know, as a newcomer, you might not want to speak at a meeting. And I think that, of course, right? And you can definitely just listen. And so that's one really important thing, that if you're deciding whether or not to go to a meeting, that you know that you can absolutely just observe. And in terms of AA, really it's just a desire to stop. So even if you're not completely sober yet, you just have to want to be. And so as long as you want to stop drinking, you are welcome at AA. Now, when it comes to Al-Anon, you know, you're admitting the impact. And as I said, I think denial is such a big part of this disease and everybody that it affects, because, oh, I'm fine is what you're hearing from your loved one. And then you are internalizing that. And then any impacts of that dynamic, well, if the person is fine, then you should be fine. Right? And there shouldn't really be an impact because there's no problem for you to be impacted by. It's all very kind of under the table and sneaky. Like, the person's not sneaky, but the effects of it or the impact of it sort of sneak up on you is maybe what I'm trying to say. Um, because ultimately, depending on how close you are to this person, but someone else's behavior, it really is warping your own sense of peace and control, and ultimately your attitudes and behavior. And that's where I think Al-Anon, what I really like about it is, again, you're not going there to complain about someone else. You're not going there to fix someone else. I think that's a big misconception as well. It's like, oh, if I go to Al-Anon, I can help the alcoholic in my life. And that's just not what it's about. It's about your hope and healing. It's about you. And that's a hard thing, I think, for people that go to Al-Anon. They're oftentimes, the personality type is that of a caregiver, that of a helper, or you know, empath, multiple words for it, but really somebody that wants to help and fix. And while that is well intentioned, you know, we're all adults, and frankly, you can't fix an addiction. There's no perfect words to say there. You can't punish the person or with good behavior incentives. They really have to come to that decision on their own. And then, of course, you can be a support, but you cannot be the one to cure it. There's a 3C. You didn't cause it. You didn't. You can't control it, and you can't cure it. I hope I'm getting that right. There's so many different slogans and little acronyms and tips, which I really like. It makes it sort of easy to just bring up some of the tools while you go throughout your day. And if you're feeling like you're struggling, one is halt, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. So if any of those things are impacting you, it's kind of a nice check-in. Oh, why am I in a mood, or I'm snapping at people, I'm frustrated. It's like, okay, well, are you hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? And oftentimes one of those four can take care of the challenge for you. Certainly hungry, and it can be emotionally hungry, for connection, which kind of goes back to the lonely piece. But have a snack, take a nap. Oftentimes just those two things can really help. So I like some of the tools and the tips. Another one, easy does it, is a slogan I like. Let go and let God. And while we're on the God word, I think, for me, that's okay. But for some people, the word God is intimidating or has negative connotations. And I think it's just really important to understand that it can be a higher power, and that higher power, whatever that means to you. And they state that very clearly in all meetings, that, it's really like, it's what it means to you, and it can literally be the collective energy of the room itself. So, and I've heard multiple people speak about their relationship with their higher power, and everybody has a different definition. And I think the biggest thing, because I mean, in the 12 steps, there is mention of it. And so I do know and understand that that's a deterrent for some. Step one is we admitted we were powerless over alcohol or the alcoholic, that our lives had become unmanageable. And at the beginning of a meeting, they're going to read the 12 steps, no matter if you're in Al-Anon or AA. Step two, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. So a lot of people, there is one, um, I'm, well, sorry, I'm just thinking there's a saying in the meetings where it's like, whatever comes in this room, stays in this room, and we leave it in the room. So I'm sort of hesitant to share. Essentially, people can stay at different steps for different amounts of time, and some people, can stay in step one for uh a year or more. It's really, this is your own timeline. There's not like a set, oh, you need to be at step 5 by Tuesday. Like, there's just, this is a path to recovery for both alcoholics and their loved ones. And interestingly enough, the steps are the same. I think the living out of it, living it out is different. And as I said, the alcoholic has an addiction, and they're recovering from that. But the people in Al-Anon sort of have an addiction as well, or an obsession, as it's sometimes called, which is the alcoholic, and it is trying to fix, change, control the situation. And my goodness, do I love the illusion of control. I love it. It's such a, I have to just keep reminding myself, hey, trying to control here. Is this really serving me? Is it serving the people I love? What am I, what is in my control? Is this my business? And oftentimes, you know, um, it's not. Sorry. Just 1 second. Okay, there we go. Plug us in here so we don't lose power. Okay, so step number 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. So right away, step 3, it's like, this is as you understand him. If this is something that's deterring you, I highly recommend you just listen to that one beat, right? As we understood him. And it's this is all an individual program, because really you're aiming to change your behaviors and your attitudes. And so no one there is trying to tell you how to be. They're just telling you a set of steps that have worked, and you work them, in your own way. And I like that as well, because you know, uh, yeah, I don't know. The rebellious nature that I have or what, but it's like, "Oh, you're gonna tell me how to do this," and we all interpret these steps differently. There's some room for interpretation, right? And so living them out really just means you having peace. And so if you don't feel peaceful, if you don't feel hopeful, if you feel helpless, if these are some of the feelings, once again, be in touch with a mental health professional or a doctor, or get some help with it if that's what you believe is right. But ultimately, um, I think having community around it is important, and I'm the first one to uh, kind of isolate. Classic Al-Anon member, by the way, is isolating from people when you have a problem. So really going inward, thinking you can fix things all yourself, and not wanting to show that vulnerability, not wanting to show that you have problems or that you're struggling with anything in life, which who isn't struggling with problems, right? Whatever they are. So I think if we humanize ourselves a little bit and say, hey, we all struggle, we all have challenges. And if this is one of yours in any capacity, I highly recommend plugging into a community like this one. What I love is there are in person meetings just about anywhere in the world. And then simultaneously, there are so many online meetings that literally any hour of the day you can connect to some group online, at least for Al Anon, but I imagine AA is the same way. You can connect with people online that are in a similar boat, and kind of cool. You can meet people from all over the world without leaving your living room. So I highly recommend it, but again, understand and admit that I would probably never have gone except for with the intention of helping my friend. And so it's interesting. I wouldn't have put the oxygen mask on for myself. I didn't know I needed the oxygen mask, you know? Like if you're listening to this and maybe you think, "Oh no, like I don't really need it." The alcoholic in my life could use it, but I don't. That's exactly what Al-Anon is there for. And again, there's so much denial around this whole thing that even if the person you're concerned about maybe they don't think it's a problem, but if you have concerns, if you feel that that's why step 1 is what it is, which is that you admit that you're powerless over the alcoholic and your life has become unmanageable. If you feel that your life has become unmanageable, then this is for you. And so the other person really doesn't matter from the perspective of could this help you? And again, right, that's hard because oh well, if but what if they're it's supposed to be the family and friends of alcoholics, but if you don't have a technical alcoholic, do you qualify? And the answer is yes. If you have been affected by someone's drinking, then you are in fact welcome. So I really like that because we can't control others. I like that they use the serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. It's a really great one that is often said at meetings. And as I told you, I love the illusion of control. So that one is a really great reminder that I even try to tell myself. And I think that's another thing I've absolutely meditated in my lifetime and prayed and understand the utility, but the way that it's explained here, what I like is that it's saying when your life feels unmanageable, these sayings, these steps, these meetings, they can be that life raft for you. Prayer can be a life raft, and sometimes, I guess people do pray when they feel like everything's chaotic and things are unmanageable. I suppose that's when we reach for something greater than ourselves because it's our last resort, right? It's like, well, I've tried to control my way through this whole situation and it's just not working. So, whatever it takes for you to get there. Like I said, took me years. I had clients that I referred. There were just it's interesting. There were multiple times when, people that I really respect told me that they either, uh, went to Al-Anon or really enjoy Al-Anon, and I never thought it was for me. And so if there's even a slight inkling that this is something on either side for AA or, Al-Anon, if you think, "Yeah, no, I'm functioning, I don't need AA," it's like, well, does it get in the way? Does it get in the way of your relationships? Does it get in the way of your life at all? Or there I find relationships get affected first, your physical health, if you find that it's messing with your ability to show up in any way as yourself, as your best self, those are all reasons, and I don't it's about feeling powerless. That doesn't mean hopeless or helpless. It means powerless to something in your life that has a grip on you. And I think we all actually have something like that to varying degrees, that has a grip on us. And there could be other compulsive behaviors like workaholism. Sorry, I said that and it's like, what? It sounded weird. But if you're a workaholic, anything that kind of that obsessive, and it's interesting, right? Because certain obsessions are rewarded in society. Being a workaholic is absolutely productive and in many senses will get you accolades. And so, how is that a problem? Why should I seek help for something that's making me successful? Again, if it's outwardly making you appear a certain way, but internally you feel powerless to it, you feel like it's taken over your life, then that's the sign. So nobody can diagnose, quote unquote, right, this for you. This is, do you feel like your life is unmanageable? And while AA is not for workaholics, um, it's just interesting. There's so many offshoots as well of different 12-step programs. So if you have another obsession of some sort, there is probably a group for you. I don't have much information about the others. I haven't gone into other 12-step programs. I am also relatively new to this one, but I will say having community around this and just seeing they have a list of 20 questions to see if your life has been affected by an alcoholic, and similarly a questionnaire for alcoholics themselves to see if alcohol is affecting your life. And I just was like, this actually, when I sent it to a client of mine, that 20 checklist, because of what was going on in my client's life, I said, hey, maybe this is something for you, if you resonate with these questions. And in reading it myself, I was absolutely, and this is a couple years ago. And so it's just so interesting, right? Like, even, a coach that's working on myself and continuous improvement and all this blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, something that I read the checklist and I literally went, yep, 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 yep. And I'm going, oh my goodness, this absolutely would be relevant to me. I couldn't bring myself to take that step, and I'm willing to I've gone out of my comfort zone in so many ways, and yet this part of my experience, this part of my life was just shrouded in denial, you know? Like, "Oh, well." But then that checklist, I said yes to so many things on the checklist, so then how can I admit that all these things, I've been affected by an alcoholic's behavior, and yet not willing to seek the help. So if you're in that position, I totally get it on whatever side of the table you're on, because it's just scary and it's hard to admit, and it feels vulnerable. It can feel uh, like you're weak or like there's something wrong with you. I mean, I totally understand, but anything shame, I think, and Brené Brown could say more about this than I can, but certainly shame just proliferates behind walls, hidden underneath the rug or in the darkness. So anything you can do to bring these challenges to light amongst other people, spoken out loud. I'm struggling with this. Anything you can, and this is just for any problem, not just this, obviously, but anything you can do to bring your problems to light, so to speak, will just do you wonders. And I say that as somebody that clearly struggled to do that and only sought this out again under the guise of, oh, well, I'll just do my friend a favor. And it was, it was to support my friend initially. And yet I gained back tenfold, you know? And isn't that often how it goes? You give and you just get so much in return. Um there are also 12 traditions. The one to mention is well, they're all worthwhile, but there is a seventh tradition where a basket gets passed around for small donations to pay for coffee and rent, and because all AA groups are self-funded and Al-Anon likewise, um, newcomers are actively encouraged not to put money in, and it's said, we want you more than your money, and um, I will say also every group is different, and so they encourage you to attend at least meetings before making a decision. And I think that's lovely because it truly every group is different, even though the structure of the meetings are the same. For the most part, the subject matter shifts depending on what's going to be discussed. And there's some different variations of meetings, but generally speaking, the structure is the same. And so, but the people make the group, right? And so trying different groups is great. Um, yeah, I also think this perfect story thing, like you walk into a room like that and you kind of feel like you have to, I don't know, you don't have to admit to anything. Maybe you just go as an observer and maybe you're not affected by an alcoholic, but you're just curious, or maybe you're not an alcoholic, but you're just curious. And that's also okay. I don't know why we feel, I mean, it's definitely a mental model that we feel like we have to kind of label things. And so, oh, does this apply to me or not? And maybe it can just be, hey, sounds like an interesting community. Let me check it out without having to place the label on yourself of, I am this forever. um, Maybe you can just go and see. So, okay, a couple others. Keep it simple, which I'm sure you've heard before, like that other slogan, live and let live, which is so good for Al-Anon members who need to learn to release control, and accept others as they are. First things first, so really prioritizing your personal recovery and sanity over anything else, trying to manage the chaos one day at a time. Another good one, let it begin with me. Another really good one, if you like to focus on other people's problems, which, hey, I'm a coach. Look at my entire look at my entire career. I love to focus on other people's problems, and I'm really good at it. I'm really good at supporting people through their challenges, and coaching gives me a great framework to do so. So it's like jackpot. Let's avoid my stuff and work on you. And I'm really, really good. And so I've done it for lots of people, and calendar fills up really quickly. So there's no room to focus on me, and classic Al-Anon behavior. So if you like to focus on other people and avoid yourself, ding, ding, ding. Welcome to the club. Uh, it's wild, it's really wild to because I like anybody, look, I'm doing a podcast where I'm talking the whole time. You'd think that I clearly focus on myself in some sense, right? And I mean, sure, I do to some degree. Obviously, think about myself and my needs and what I want, but so much of my mental space as a coach goes toward what do other people need? What are other people like? How do I support other people? How do I understand how other people think and feel? And I mean, it's been my obsession my entire life is figuring out other people and how they operate. And so maybe it's partially personality thing. I love people, but uh, there's a layer for sure of forgetting myself. Okay, let's say all the steps just for my own my own interest. Hopefully it's helpful to you. So step 2, you believe that a greater power greater than yourself could restore you to sanity. Step 3, made a decision to turn your will or our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. Step 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. And this reminds me so much of like, confession at church in a way. Um, and so, there's no, as we've already stated, we're not putting on airs here. There's a spiritual component to this, and yet it's not asking you to go into a church. So I just want to make that distinction. There is no denomination to this. It is not affiliated with a particular church, but it is a spiritual program. And so if you're willing to look at the spiritual aspect of your life, then that is all that we're saying, that I'm saying, that the program's saying. You know, uh, keep an open mind and just consider it. And even if in considering it, you come to a conclusion different than, you had initially, that's a win, whatever that is. Um, okay, step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Step 7, humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. Step 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Step 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Step 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. And so, the step 4 to 9 is a process that then step 10, you're reiterating on steps 4 to 9 repeatedly. So moral inventory, what are the standards you're holding yourself to, which is so great because with coaching, we're looking at values, and it's a similar idea. Like, what kind of person do you want to be? Right? That's ultimately what we're asking. And when you are not the person you want to be, and we all, of course, fall from that pedestal every single day when you realize, hey, not being the person I want to be in this scenario, fair enough, right? Then it's asking you to admit that, ask God, ask your higher power to remove that defect of character. If you harm someone in that behavior, call that out, make amends to that person, and then you do it all over again. I mean, it makes sense, right? And I think we can all apply this, even if you're not affected by alcoholics or you're not an alcoholic yourself. I mean, don't we all need to do a moral inventory and really see, you know, honestly, in reality, how we're behaving? I mean, I can tell you there have been phases for sure and days and like, I'm just not the person that I want to be. I'm not holding myself to my own standards of integrity, and that's human. But to just avoid it, to hide behind excuses, that's where the problem lies. It's not in the mistake because again, we're all figuring this thing out one day at a time over here, right? We're all trying our best with what we've got. But if you know you've done wrong and you feel it, right? That guilt, the shame. I mean, well, shame's different. So I should make this distinction because I have read about Brene Brown's definition and I think this is critical and interesting. So, my understanding of her work is guilt is when you think you've done something bad. Shame is I am bad. So, it's this identity level feeling of I am bad. I'm a bad person just inherently versus guilt, which is like, oh, uh, I was impatient with this person and, didn't let them finish what they're saying or was really short with them. And I feel guilty about that. That is something you can make amends for. Shame is just you feeling bad all around. And that's the identity level. And that's not what we're necessarily talking about when it comes to the moral inventory. Moral inventory really will shift from identity to behaviors, right? Like how have you been behaving? And so step 10, you continue to make that personal inventory. A lot of people will do that daily, like looking at, at the end of the day, just contemplating how did I do today sort of thing. Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. Now, yes, the Lord's Prayer, right? Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. There is a kind of reference to that. Um, but really, if we go to step 1 and we're talking about, okay, our lives are unmanageable. 2, a power greater than ourselves is going to restore us to sanity. 3, we're going to turn our will and our lives over to that power greater than ourselves. Then it makes sense to ask that power greater than us to give us His knowledge of His will for us. If we want to follow His will, then we need to ask, what is your will, right? And the power to carry that out, because sometimes, you get this kind of intuitive hit, right? What would be correct, and it's a hard choice to make, to actually carry out what you know is the right next step. Doesn't always feel good, isn't always easy, is not always the fluffy path, but deep down, right? You know in your heart that it's right. And that's what we're aiming for. And it's so incredibly hard some days, and other times it's not. But following your heart, I mean, there's so many love songs, music songs, like just ballads about like listen to your heart, right? uh, and I think that's what we're talking about here. Like God is in your heart, because it's it feels it feels like it's for the greater good. It feels like it's greater than you. If you're a parent, you get this. You as a mother specifically, you literally lay down your life to birth a child. No matter how you birthed your child, you are laying down your life to bring that baby earthside. And there's some surrender in that. Let me tell you that I just don't know any other experience. Maybe going into like a life threatening surgery can get you close to that, where you're just like, God, I absolutely surrender the outcome of this to you. Like you just have you have no control. Like, okay, you can surrender it to the doctors, right? Like you can say, I surrender my body to the doctors, maybe. But like it's bigger than the doctors, like doctors can't control everything. They're just people with interventions trying their best. I don't know, like, I digress. My point is just that there's certain situations and experiences in life, and for me, becoming a mom definitely was one of those experiences where I lay down my life and knew that it was just not up to me. And, that's the level of surrender that this requires as well, I think. And so I try to remind myself of that feeling of surrender that I had then, to navigate this. And step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics or others and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So those are the 12 steps. I think that's good for today because there's just so much to share, and I don't want to. Yeah, we're at 38 minutes. I don't want to go, you know, too far. If you're considering a meeting, if this is at all of interest, ask someone to go with you. We're stronger in pairs. Um, get more people than two to go with you if you like. But there's just something about having someone sitting beside you, holding your hand, being there that that just makes that room less daunting. And online, I mean, you can be completely anonymous, no phone, no video, no microphone. You can use a different name if you need to. So, the anonymity is protected there if that's more your comfort zone. But if this at all sparks your interest, I highly recommend you check it out because I just wish I had found these resources in this community sooner. And I will link to AA and Al-Anon so you can have a look at their free resources and see. I mean, they have different literature and readers and things that you can get into if reading is your thing. So that's an option. But the meetings and more about them and all of it is on their site. So I will link to that. And I really wish hope and peace for you as as you navigate this journey, because it's an emotional one, and just grateful to have this platform to be able to chat with you about it. So I hope that you seek this out if it's something that you think is of interest, and we'll chat soon. So take good care until then.